My hands were shaking as I stood outside the coffee shop, watching him through the window. 5 years. 5 years since I'd walked away from the best thing that ever happened to me. And there he was, laughing with a woman who wore the smile I used to have. The ring on her finger caught the light. I felt my stomach drop. Because in that moment, I realized I'd destroyed my own life and there was no going back. Let me take you back to where it all started, because you need to understand how spectacularly I ruined everything. His name was Marcus. We met in college. Both broke, both ambitious, both stupid enough to think love was enough. He was studying engineering, working 2 jobs to pay tuition. I was in business school, dreaming of corner offices and 6-figure salaries. We lived in a tiny apartment that smelled like old carpet and had a heater that only worked on Tuesdays. But God, we were happy. Marcus was the kind of guy who'd walk 3 miles in the rain to bring me soup when I was sick. He remembered every little thing I said. My favorite flower, the way I liked my coffee, the fact that I hated surprise parties, but loved handwritten notes. He'd leave them everywhere. On the bathroom mirror, in my textbooks. Once, he filled my car with sticky notes, each one with a reason he loved me. 417 reasons. I counted them. I kept every single one in a shoebox under my bed. For 6 years, we built a life together. After graduation, I got a job at a consulting firm. Good money, long hours, constant travel. Marcus got hired at a mid-sized engineering company. Decent pay, stable, 9 to 5. He proposed on our 6th anniversary. Nothing fancy. Just us on the couch eating takeout Chinese food. He didn't have an expensive ring. Couldn't afford it. But he promised me forever and I believed him. That's when everything started to crack. My career took off. I got promoted twice in 18 months. My salary jumped to $90,000, then $120,000. I was traveling to New York, London, Singapore. Meeting executives, closing deals, living the life I'd always dreamed of. And Marcus? He was still at the same company, same position, same salary. $55,000 a year. I started noticing things. The way his shoes were scuffed. How he drove a 10-year-old Honda while my colleagues drove BMWs. The fact that when we went out with my work friends, he couldn't keep up with the conversation about markets and mergers. He'd just smile politely, drink his beer, hold my hand. I told myself it didn't matter. But it did. It started small. I'd make comments. Maybe you should look for something more ambitious. Don't you want to grow? Other guys your age are already managers. He'd just nod and say he was happy where he was, that he liked the work-life balance, that he wanted time for us, for the future family we talked about. But I heard something else. I heard complacency. I heard lack of ambition. I heard him holding me back. My friends didn't help. The women I worked with, they had different lives. Their partners were lawyers, doctors, entrepreneurs. They vacationed in the Maldives. They wore designer clothes. They posted picture-perfect lives on Instagram. And I was engaged to a guy who thought Olive Garden was a fancy dinner. I'm not proud of what happened next. I started pulling away. Working later, traveling more. When I was home, I was distant. Marcus would try to plan date nights, and I'd cancel. He'd suggest weekend trips, and I'd say I was too busy. He'd reach for my hand, and I'd pull away to check my phone. The worst part? He kept trying. Kept loving me. Kept being patient. He'd cook my favorite meals. He'd draw me baths after long days. He'd wait up for me even when I came home at midnight just to ask about my day, and I resented him for it. Because his kindness felt like a spotlight on my cruelty. The breaking point came at my company's annual gala. Black tie event, 5-star hotel, everyone who mattered in the industry. I brought Marcus as my plus one. He rented a tux, showed up with flowers, told me I looked beautiful, and the entire night, I was ashamed of him. He didn't know which fork to use. He made small talk with the bartender instead of networking. He laughed too loud at a joke. And when my boss asked what he did, and he said he was an engineer at a small firm, I saw the polite disinterest in her eyes. I saw how she looked at me after, like I was settling. That night, I went home and ended it. Just like that, 6 years gone. I told him I needed someone who matched my ambition. Someone who wanted more from life. Someone who could keep up with me. He just stared at me. His face went pale. He asked if there was someone else. I said no, which was true. He asked if he'd done something wrong. I said it wasn't about him, it was about me growing. He asked if I still loved him, and I lied. I said I didn't. I watched him pack his things. Watched him cry. Watched him pick up the box of sticky notes I'd kept, look at me one last time and walk out. I didn't cry. I felt relief. I felt free. I felt like I'd finally cut the dead weight. For the next 5 years, I lived the life I thought I wanted. I got promoted to senior consultant, started making $200,000 a year. Bought a downtown condo with floor-to-ceiling windows. Dated men who drove Teslas and talked about crypto. Traveled first class. Wore Louboutin heels. Posted the perfect life on social media, and I was miserable. The men I dated were shallow, obsessed with status. One forgot my birthday 3 times. Another cheated on me with his assistant. None of them left me notes, none of them waited up to hear about my day. None of them were Marcus. I told myself I didn't care, I buried myself in work. 60, 70-hour weeks. Promotions, bonuses, recognition. Empty achievements that filled nothing. I'd come home to my beautiful, expensive, silent apartment and feel absolutely nothing. No one to cook for. No one to laugh with. No one who knew that I hated surprise parties but loved handwritten notes. Then last week I saw him. I was walking past a coffee shop in my old neighborhood and there he was. Sitting by the window. Smiling at a woman with kind eyes and a genuine laugh. She was showing him something on her phone. He threw his head back. That laugh I used to love. She leaned over and kissed his cheek. That's when I saw it. The ring. Simple. Elegant. Exactly like the one he'd given me. I stood there frozen. And then he looked up. Our eyes met through the glass. For a moment nothing, then he smiled. Not a bitter smile. Not a sad smile. A genuinely happy, moved on, living his best life smile. He waved. I couldn't move. He stood up, said something to the woman, and walked outside. We stood on the sidewalk. 5 years of silence between us. He spoke first, asked how I was. I lied, said great. He said he was glad. Introduced himself to thin air, realized the woman hadn't followed. Laughed. Said her name was Claire. That they'd been together 3 years. Getting married in the fall. He looked genuinely happy. I asked about work. He said he'd started his own consulting firm. Sustainable Engineering Solutions. It had taken off. He had 12 employees now. Was doing projects across the country. Everything I'd accused him of not being ambitious enough to do, he'd done. Without me. He didn't gloat. Didn't throw it in my face. Just told me casually like it was no big deal. Then he asked about me. And I realized I had nothing to say. I had money, I had a title. I had nothing that mattered. We talked for 5 more minutes. Polite. Distant. Like strangers. Because that's what we were. Then Claire came out, slipped her hand into his. He introduced us. She was warm. Genuine. Worked as a pediatric nurse. Volunteered on weekends. Had the kind of laugh that made you want to laugh too. Everything I used to be before I got cold. They said goodbye. Walked away hand in hand. And I stood there on that sidewalk and realized the truth. I had been wrong. About everything. I'd thrown away a man who loved me unconditionally because I thought I deserved better. I'd chased money and status and surface-level success. I'd become someone I didn't recognize. And Marcus? He'd become everything I'd wanted him to be. Just not for me. I went home that night and opened the box I'd hidden in my closet. 417 sticky notes. I read every single one. Cried for the first time in 5 years. Because I'd had everything, and I destroyed it with my own hands. Marcus is getting married in the fall. I won't be there. I don't deserve to be. He's happy. He's successful. He's loved by someone who sees his worth. And I'm here in my expensive apartment, surrounded by things that mean nothing, finally understanding what I lost. I was wrong. And some mistakes you don't get to fix. If this story made you feel something, hit that like button and subscribe for more real confessions. Drop a comment and tell me. Have you ever realized too late that you let the right person go? I'd love to hear your story. Thanks for listening to mine.